Father, pastor, teacher, cricketer, Governor General. Sir Howard Felix Hanlon Cooke was a man for all seasons. He was born November 15, 1915 and raised in a little village in Goodwill, St. James. With a butcher for a dad and a seamstress for a mum, Howard Cooke knew the meaning of humble beginnings. And as for his journey to success, let's just say the path he walked left him with his fair share of blisters.
I was a village boy and ran around the village barefooted like the rest of the little boys, climbing trees, setting springes for birds. Oh, my life was a happy one.
But as he grew, young Howard realized that Jamaica of the early 1900s was gripped by social injustices and hardships. Thus, as early as his first year in Michael College, this bright and idealistic 17-year-old began to feel he must help make a change.
There was a fire in our belly. We wanted to improve. We wanted to run better. We wanted to play cricket. We had our George Headley coming up and we wanted to emulate him. At that time, we heard of only two great barristers, Norman Manley and J.G. Smith. But we all wanted to be J.G. Smith or Norman Manley. And it was a course where we were anxious, very anxious, to have excellence without even being able to identify what was excellent.
College days were exciting, a time of intellectual ferment. They were also days of wholesome development and fun. Far from a bookworm, Cooksey, as his friends called him, was a sports enthusiast. It was there too that his passion for politics was manifested, and the time would come for politics on an even grander scale. Cooksey was also a good and spirited friend.
I've never seen him get into a temper. We were walking together and I was needling him. But I was being very cautious physically. And sure enough, I saw his fist coming around to my head. And I was able to duck, and then they both laughed, you see.
Howard Cooke dedicated 23 years to teaching in the classroom, an occupation he speaks of with the greatest delight. His teaching career started at Michael College and Practicing School. He then went on to serve as headmaster at Bell Castle All Age, Port Antonio Upper School, and Montego Bay Boys School. And in Jamaica of the 1930s and 40s, a teacher did not simply teach. He was the highly respected agent of socialization and guidance.
The teacher was everything. If a person had a quarrel with his wife, then teacher would have to go and settle it. If they had some differences in land occupation, they called in the teacher. If somebody had died and the minister wasn't there, the teacher buried the dead. He preached the sermon on the Sunday and taught the children on the Monday.
They helped many, many children with private lessons, with all kinds of things. I'm sure my mother doesn't know how many people my father, helped, and we don't know either, but he was always helping people.
The spirit of excellence and academic achievement were constant motivators for Teacher Cooke.
Whatever village I went to teach, or whatever school, I was jealous that my school should be better than other schools. And because of that, I worked hard. And I spent a lot of time teaching the children to aspire.
He furthered his studies at London University, but returned home to hone his craft as teacher. The union between man and job wasn't the only combination that kept Howard going. There was also the coming together of man and bride. It was none other than Ivy Sylvia Lucille Ty that caught the eye of young Cooksey. She was an honors graduate of Bethlehem Training College and had been specially selected to teach at the Kingston Senior School. On July 22, 1939, Howard Cooke and Ivy Ty became husband and wife. The union produced 3 children: Howard Fitzarthur, Richard Washington McDermott, and Audrey Faith. Howard's first stint in politics began at the Michael College. Back then, political activist Osmond Theodore Fairclough, popularly called OT, began to tickle his mind with notions of change and improvement of the social condition. At that time, Jamaica's mass lived and worked with no representational voice. Men worked for 1 shilling a day and women for 9 pence, though they worked the same hours. Social conditions were appalling. 3/4 of the population lived in acute poverty, and even basic health and educational facilities were hard to come by. Something had to be done.
I remember the days when throughout the country, people had to cope with malaria, they had to cope with yaws, and tropical diseases. There was a deliberate effort to wipe that out, and we have succeeded. And we are not glorifying those people who have made a great contribution. And it is so unfortunate that these days you hear everybody talking about the politician is this and the politician is not remembering that it was the politicians, the teachers, the ministers who led in that great social revolution has taken place in our country.
The moment of transition for Teacher Cooke came when he, then a member of the Jamaica Union of Teachers, was sent as one of 2 delegates to discuss the formation of a political party. Though he was the youngest person in the room, he was selected to be part of a steering committee that would decide on the way forward. And again, when a committee of 7 was selected to draft the constitution of the new party, Howard Cooke was numbered in their midst. The party became known as the People's National Party. Howard Cooke led an exciting life in representational politics, always acting on behalf of the people in Western Jamaica. In 1958, an interesting development took place. The West Indies Federation was born, and Mr. Cooke was elected to the West Indies Federal Parliament as the representative for St. James. But the Federation did not survive its infancy. Sir Howard eventually entered the Jamaican Parliament in 1962 and served as senator until early 1967. He also served as member of the House of Representatives between 1967 and 1980 and was a minister of government between 1972 and 1980. As minister, he held at different times the portfolios of pension and security, education, and labor and the public service. As Minister of Education, Howard Cooke was passionate about his first love. He succeeded in getting counseling introduced in every school and clamored for schools to be built as part of any planned community. Sir Howard Cooke was also President of the Senate from 1989 to 1991 and served on the executive of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. The zenith of Sir Howard's life in public service came in 1991. The country boy turned teacher turned politician stepped into the highest office in the land. Howard Felix Hanlon Cooke became the 3rd Jamaican-born Governor-General of Jamaica, following in the steps of Sir Florizel Augustus Glaspole and Sir Clifford Campbell. Somehow, in the sea of activities which have ebbed and flowed in his life, Howard Cooke has managed to have other interests. He served as Group Scoutmaster and Secretary for the St. Andrew Boys Scouts Association. He captained Cornwall's cricket team and at various times was a member of the Michael College, Portland and St. James cricket teams. He was also a member of the Michael College, Portland and St. James football teams. His interests also extended to the exciting arena of culture. For many years, he was a member of the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission and was Secretary and local chairman of the St. James Cultural Commission. He also judged in the JCDC festival competitions. Sir Howard was a senior elder and lay pastor in the United Church of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, and lay pastor and past chairman of the Cornwall Council of Churches. Along the path to success, Sir Howard has picked up numerous and prestigious awards. In 1978, he was awarded the Commander of Distinction, and in 1980, the Special Plaque for Distinguished Service from the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. In 1991, he was awarded the Knight Grand Cross of the Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, conferred on him by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. That same year, he received the Order of the Nation. And in 1994, the Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order was conferred on Howard Cooke by Her Majesty the Queen.
It has been a learning experience. I've learned to love my people more. I have learned to understand their distresses, their struggles, but more importantly, I have been able to identify the great successes of a great people. And so I consider it privilege and rewarding.
Challenges.
As Governor General, everybody wants you to satisfy their needs. And when anybody speaks, they want you to agree with them. So one of the difficulty was to show where you agreed or disagreed without making people unhappy. So it means that you, of necessity, you had to show skill, great skill in social relationship.
Advice to those following in his footsteps.
Listen carefully and not be quick to come to judgment.
Jamaica's third native Governor General has left his mark on our island home, a feat accomplished after many decades of selfless service.